Hey, you ready?
I'm ready.
It's time to bebop some cowboys.
Let's bebop.
I got some notes.
Okay.
I got some notes.
How would you rate it? This episode, 0 out of 5.
Out of 5?
Yeah.
This would be like a 3.5-star Monday Night Raw match on Dave Meltzer's 5-star scale. You know what I mean? Like good, not great. It wasn't as good as the previous one, the Rock and Roll Queen or whatever. That was such a good episode. Still my favorite episode, Session 7. But Session 8, the Waltz for Venues. Okay? My biggest takeaway before we dive into the episode was this showed you systematically how all three of the crew from the Bebop would handle situations.
Mm-hmm.
That's even fucking clever, Boo. I fucking hate you. Like, because you see them all three going for the same thing per the usual. They're hunting for a bounty, but you see them all three handling it different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Faye and Spike and Tank. So we open on a train car in space. My note literally has the line, giant space butthole poops out a ship. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. That weird, like, sphincter-looking portal.
Yes.
There's a hijacking. Just kidding. The whole thing was just a bunch of bounty hunters doing their thing, trying to get this really badass group of guys. This is one of those things where I talked about it every time, where it's like you take the crew plus a bounty plus whatever shenanigans they get equals that session, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Jet. Thank you. The Jet. So for me this time, it was that we keep learning more about Spike, the character. And I feel like his relationship with, I'm going to mispronounce it because it looks like I wrote down Rocco, but I know it's like Rocco.
Mm-hmm.
Rocco. The relationship with Rocco, and then figuring out that Rocco was one of the guys in the bounty that they're hunting, and like everything that went into it. I thought that was kind of cool to continue his character arc and growth. I asked, why is Rocco banging on the UPS guy? Because he was pissed as how much it was going to cost him to ship his box. And then I wrote down, this guy has huge Will Gray energy. And I was like, this is what I would imagine it'd be like hanging out with me. Then I immediately realized that he was hounding Spike and how fucking annoying he was. And I was like, definitely Will Gray energy. I think the smoking next to a no smoking sign while Spike was going down the elevator went hard as fuck. And the line when Rocco was like, give me a little compassion, and he flicks his cigarettes and he's like, I'm all out of that stuff. And I was like, why the fuck is it so hard? You know what I mean? Like, it's not conceited at all, Al. If you watch the episode, you'd realize Rocco was just this lovable idiot. Like,
yeah.
It's definitely not me being conceited at all.
Did you feel like Rocco was going to make it? Or did you have a bad feeling?
Honestly, with the way you described it, you were like, there's a cast of characters that come in and out of the crew as the show goes, but essentially these are our core three. I honestly thought when they got to the part of the episode where Spike was teaching Rocco, like, you know, soft like water. Like, I wrote down, where'd it go? I wrote down, that's real kung fu shit. Where did I write my notes down at? Because he was doing the whole thing. You got to calm. Yeah, it's not about strength or power. And he was explaining how you got to be calm and collected and smooth like water. And I was like, that's real kung fu shit. Like, they said that stuff to me in class when I was training kung fu. I was like, that's real life.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you. I apologize. I just took off on my fucking will talk about it. Like, what did you think about this episode? Out of your
it's like kind of like a slower episode after the last one we saw. I feel like
it's definitely a breather. That's for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good. It was a good episode, a good session. You know.
I thought,
yeah.
I thought there was going to be more build with Rocco because, like I said, I thought Rocco might even become part of the crew. I thought Spike training him, maybe there was going to be a big fight scene where we were going to get them to fight each other and Rocco was going to use this shit he had learned from Spike. Like, I wasn't real sure what we were going to get from this episode, but you're right. It's definitely a breather from session 7. Session 7 went hard for 30 straight minutes. And this one played well. It had its highs and its lows, but we still got our big space gunfight. We still got rocket ships coming out of space buttholes. Like, we still got all the shit that makes us like Cowboy Bebop. It was definitely just a very, like, the highs of the action weren't as high as the last one, and the lows were definitely lower than we've seen in a few episodes. I think
funny note about, like, the gay sex scene.
I definitely have that written down.
In the Adult Swim version, the partner was edited out, but his voice wasn't. So it looked like he was just fucking an invisible man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
and then the villain was based off of Biggie.
That's what he was saying. And looking at it, I wouldn't have thought they killed Rocco like a child in suburban. God damn it, Quan. I should have read it before I started reading it, and then I started like editing it out as I was reading it. And I was like, don't finish reading, Will. One of my favorite things about this show, every episode we get space cats.
Yeah, I love those.
There's always cats or dogs, and I love animals.
Yeah.
When the crew finally gets to where they're picking up this bounty, it reminded me, and this is going to be a deep cut for Star Wars fans, it reminded me of Dagobah, like where Yoda was, but if it had dried up and the swamps became like a desert.
Okay.
That's kind of what this place reminded me of, like desert swamps.
Yeah.
Venus. Yeah. No, that's what it was. It was Venus, but it looked like Dagobah was like all dried up. I wrote down again, I love Faye. Definitely my anime crush.
You're experiencing an anime crush, yeah.
Yeah. We find out that Rocco isn't part of the bounty. He's been kicked out of his bounty squad because he stole the $1 billion weed plant.
Mm-hmm.
And he's running around with this like $1 billion weed plant.
The plant that will help his sister.
Yeah, it's where it's going to save his sister. Yeah. That's not nearly as, I can't be as wholesome. I've got to make it, and I got, like I can't talk about that stuff. I got to make funny, silly jokes.
Right.
But you're right. It was for his sister. Cherish it. Thank you. Faye busts in on 2 dudes getting dirty. That's exactly what I wrote down.
Yes.
I don't yuck any yums. I don't give a shit, but I did not expect that in the middle of a anime episode.
That's funny.
So Faye, Jet, Spike, they're all looking for this bounty. Spike realizes that Rocco has the $1 billion weed plant that he's trying to steal to save his sister.
The medicinal, yeah.
The medicinal $1 billion weed plant. And it's like, he's trying to figure out now because Spike's like, damn, you've got this. This is worth 10 times the bounty for you and your entire gang put together times 10. And I get more than that for this. And he's like, look, I've got to have that. I'm going to take it to my sister. So Spike being Spike, and this is what I'm talking about, doesn't know this dude from fucking Peter or Paul. He is a bounty he is hunting. And in the last 10 minutes of the episode, he gives him the $1 billion weed plant back. And he promises that he's going to make sure to take care of homeboy's sister. And I'm like, Spike, you didn't know this dude yesterday. Like, he is taking on a lot of responsibilities for a fucking stranger.
Yes.
I'm just throwing that out there.
He sees himself in him. Maybe.
But does he really?
I don't know, man.
We get a good old-fashioned Cowboy Bebop Western shootout. And I feel like every session has to have one where it's like everybody gets their guns out and we shoot. And then we get my favorite part about this is because it looks like a normal show. Let's get the bag. That's what I'm saying. Fuck that blind bitch. So this is my favorite part because they will be in the middle of this fucking epic shootout, blasting like their guns, and it looks like a normal cartoon shootout. And then Faye comes busting through the roof of the building in a goddamn spaceship, Hex.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah, we're in outer space. We're on Venus, and it's not just a Western anime shootout.
Correct. And I love the idea, like the world building here is like one of my favorites because of like, you know, them making Venus sickness a thing even, you know, like I thought that was a really cool touch to the world. Like this being on, after being on Venus for a certain amount of time, you get like certain symptoms for, and it doesn't happen to everybody, just a certain few. So
he gags him. He like ribs him at the beginning of the episode. Roko's like, yeah, if you're going to Venus, you got to take these tablets. And so you don't get sick. And he takes them and it makes him have the helium voice. And he's like, nah, I'm just kidding. Fuck you. So Jet reminds Faye that if she kills everybody, they don't get a reward if they're all dead. We can only get the reward on the members that are still alive. It does. There are parts of it where you're like, when they're hanging out on the ship and they're just talking and interacting with each other, it doesn't feel like they're bounty hunters. It doesn't feel like a sci-fi show. It feels like you're watching an adult TV show that just also happens to be an animated series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I like that about it because it's not all sci-fi and guns and shit blowing up. Because, like I said about Seinfeld, you could watch any one episode of Seinfeld and it doesn't matter that you've seen the other 9 seasons or not. You could watch any one of these episodes of Cowboy Bebop and not need any background on these characters or stories. And that's one of my biggest things that I love about a good TV show.
Yeah, for sure.
Roko gets blasted. He drops the $1 billion weed plant. So they lose part of their bounty that was already less than the weed plant, and they lose the weed plant. Roko says some really fucking cheesy shit, and I said out loud while I was watching the episode, Juan's gonna have something dumb to say about this. Spike gets up and walks away because he promises Roko he's gonna go talk to his girl and explain to her blind ass that Roko's gone. And I'm like, you just promised you're gonna break the news to some girl you barely know that her boyfriend is dead. And again, yesterday,
her brother.
Her brother. You woke up yesterday and you didn't know who the fuck these people were, Spike. Now I understand why Jet's going fucking crazy.
He's like, bro, I mean? Chill.
Yeah, he's like, why do we have to do this every fucking time?
God damn it.
Yeah. So he goes, he breaks the bad news, and in true Spike fashion, he's like, all right, deuces, and you walk out, and he just like bounces.
Yeah. This is one of does what he wants.
He does all the time. This is one of my favorite ending sequences because I didn't think the episode was over. And I even checked when it happened to see how much time was left because I felt like it wasn't as long, and it was. It was a 22.5-minute episode. The ending sequence with the lights, like the Japanese lanterns and the glowing like lotus seeds in the air, like, and then the words, the silhouette, just see you in space, cowboy. I was like, that was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't see the news coming. Bazinga.
Damn.
That's what I said. 3.5 Hex. Like out of 5, it was a good episode. It wasn't as good as the last one. It wasn't as.
It's like a breather.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. A different kind of breather than Session 6.
Yeah.
Session 6, to me, I feel like we almost should do a do-over on that one. Because I still, like, having watched that episode twice the day we covered it to make sure I understood it, and then fumbling through that review because I didn't know what the fuck was happening.
Yeah, fair.
That still, to my day, haunts me. But overall, good episode. 3.5, probably not in my top 4, but still not 7 or 8. You know what I mean? I've watched so far.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I'm like, we might need to start doing like 2 episodes per, simply because there's 26, and at this point, we're never gonna get through it.
No, we can definitely start doing more than 1 a week. We will definitely figure that out. But for this week, it's the easiest hour. ever on Tuesday afternoon. Hex, tell them where you're at, what you got going on, anything you want to plug for this week before we see your smiling face again next Tuesday.
Yeah, you can find me at it's.ppower on Twitter and OnlyFans, and it's _ppower on Instagram. That's it for me.
Fantastic. Remember to follow us anywhere you do anything on the internet: Facebook, Instagram, iHeartRadio, Google, Spotify. If you look for Botch Bots and Share Shots, Nerdy News, Rivet City Radio. It's P Power, Just a Girl 918, everybody's favorite Ginger Ninja Jaxo, or me, the Will Gray. You will find one or all of us for what we do here at Nerdy News, Botch Bots and Share Shots, and Rivet City Radio. If you check the links in the description, one is in the bio. It goes to the Discord. That is a direct link to all the hosts, producers, content creators, and minds behind Rivet City Radio, Botch Bots and Share Shots, and Nerdy News. The other one is for your Prime Gaming subscription. If you have a Prime Gaming subscription, make sure you link it with your Prime account, link it to your Twitch account, subscribe to your favorite Twitch streamer, give it to us, give it to She Elite Showcase, give it to Off the Top Media, any or all of my friends. As long as Jeff Bezos doesn't get it, he has too much money. Hex, anything for the class?
Nope, that's it. That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. For everybody's favorite Hex, Bridget, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.
Bye.